Howdy folks, Hulkrex here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today in episode 79, we're going to be talking about another vehicle. The Hunter Light Support Tank. The 35 little ton tank that can. Alright, I like this little bugger because I find it used in most of my mercenary companies because it's fairly cheap and inexpensive. Doesn't cost you too many battle value. It's like $650 or so. And it has some good weapons that works really good in a support role. Like it says, it's a light support tank. Now let's just delve right into it. Okay, we have a 35-ton tank. Like I said, it's like 650 battle value. Has a fusion engine in it, which we can get to here and talk about in a little bit. Now it's a 5.8 mover, so it has some good mobility. Typically, with this kind of mobility, it can run around and support most battle mechs of the 4.6 or 5.8 maneuver skills, or even I like to use them even in support of like heavies and assaults that might be 4.6s or 3.5 movers. Because with that mobility, it can roll up, unload with a bunch of weapons, and then fall back. Or maneuver into a flank. Alright. Now, the weapons on this thing. It's carries around an LRM-20 in the front. Doesn't have a turret. 2 tons of ammo, so it has 12 rounds of laying down some fire. And then it has a flamer pointing out the rear for... well, if something decides to get close, you can barbecue it. That's typically your anti-infantry type thing where you can turn around and it's like hightail it out of Dodge and give them a flamer. It's like cook them. That's a little rotisserie barbecue before you say sayonara and run away. Now, like I alluded to here earlier, I like to use this thing is... with this mobility, you can roll it up into some type, like a wood line or some type of hilltop or something, and just park it, and then start shooting from long range. Not have to worry about too many modifiers. And typically, you're going to have a 4-gunner in it, so yeah, at long range, you're typically looking at 8s to 9s. Yeah, let's say 9s and 10s, depending on the target that you're shooting at. And it's not going to have a problem shooting at most targets, because once you move it into a position and just park it there, yeah, you're looking at 9s and 10s on a usual circumstance or scenario where you're just laying down some fire while your other battle mechs are moving up. And what I really like about these things is, now if you're playing a campaign where like you are a mercenary commander and you're looking at getting some vehicles and stuff that can be used in support and do it cheaply, so it's not going to break the bank when it comes to C-bills and throwing them into a unit. Like a lance of these things, 4 of them, lays down a lot of good firepower, because you can't sneeze at 4 LRM-20s coming down on you. That's going to attract somebody's attention, and a lot of times I find in most campaigns they're going to be trying to move some fast mover like a lighter medium mech to take care of them and either force you to maneuver something to block for you, or you're going to be forced to disengage with them and move them off the table, because with the 96 armor on these things, this is the drawback of them. It has only 96 points of armor, which is like 32 in the front. So if they take any damage to the front, they don't last very long. A couple good hits from a couple long-range artillery fire, and they're gone. So you're going to be wanting to, well, disengage with them. So that's why you got to protect these little buggers. And it's not that hard to do. It's like with the mobility, I mean, you can disengage, move to a flank or something. So if they're trying to maneuver up a couple light battle mechs up on, let's say, your right flank, you can always disengage more to the left and force them to come chasing after you. That gives you time to disengage something else, like a medium or a heavy yourself, to put it like a blocking force. Or if you're lucky enough to have some infantry with you doing the combined arms, yeah, you can dump them out in front too and start trying to distract them with those. Now, when you're looking at it in the aspect of laying down fire, you have a lance of these things. That's 4 LRM-20s that's going to be hitting a target. It, in about, say, 3 or 4 turns, let's say, like I said, you're starting off at long range, and eventually you might be medium range with them. I usually do not like to get in close with them. I try to keep them back at least at the extent of long to medium range. So if you can move them up a little closer into medium range and park them someplace while you have that scrum going on where they're focusing all their time and effort on, say, your heavies, these things are just raining down fire on somebody, and it doesn't take long of 2-3 turns, and let's say half of these missiles hit. Yeah, they're not going to be happy with you, and they're going to be wanting to chase you off. But now let's just delve into a couple other things with these things. Now, there are some variants that they like to talk about. Typically, it's like replacing the LRM-20 and putting something like an LRM-15 on it, and then add some close-in support weaponry. A lot of times, you know, they're talking about let's just see here. We got replace it with a 15 rack and devoting the free weight and space to close defense weapon, reducing its effective as a fire support platform, and stripping the flamer and devoting it to free space for another ton of missiles. Certainly makes sense. Okay, yeah, 'cause the flamer really doesn't do you much good because it's pointing out the back, and like I said, it's something that if you got infantry coming up on you or a battle mech, you can turn around and hightail it out of there and give them at least a flamer shot on the way out. Now, that is kind of really, when you think about it, it's kind of a worthless weapon in the first point. And let's just look at one thing. This thing has a fusion engine in it, which makes it have 10 heat sinks. And what's a better weapon to go out there and hit somebody at a little bit farther range for 1 ton? A medium laser. Or 2. What I usually do with mine is I drop them down to LRM-15 racks. And then, with the 15 rack on them, I'm freeing up some space, and I put on 2 more medium lasers. And that also frees up a little bit for a little bit more armor. I think it's like a half a ton more armor that I put on these things. Or maybe it's a full ton. I think it's a full ton. And when I do that, that allows you to a little bit more armor, and you have some close-in firepower with 2 medium lasers pointing out the front. And a lot of times, I will turn around and take that flamer in the back and just turn it into a medium laser also. So if you do have to turn around and run, you have something that shoots out at least 9 hexes or 9 inches, and that's a little bit better to use instead of the flamer. Now, if I put it in 15 racks, yeah, you're losing 5 points of longer range firepower, but you're gaining 10 points because I put 2 medium lasers pointing out the front slope. That allows you up close and personal 10 points damage to somebody that might be coming in close to you. So if you're getting harassed by some medium or light mechs, you do have something of a recourse to shoot at them after they get into within your minimum range with that LRM-15 or that you would put on it. Now, if you do have something coming up close, so they're sending a medium mech after you to harass you, it wouldn't be bad to turn around and take that entire lance, let's say if you do have 4 of them, and which I like to operate 4 at a time, is just turn around and focus fire on that mech that's coming at you up until the point where they give you the short range stuff. Then flip over to the medium lasers and then turn around and find a target a little farther down range for the LRMs. And by the time they get to you, from personal experience, they don't have a lot of armor left to begin with. And you can turn around and start handling at least 1 mech by yourself with a lance of these things. So they're not, you know, when you downgrade the LRM launcher, they're not going to be having problems up close and personal. But, you know, you're losing some long-range damage, and I can live with that. I don't have a problem with protecting myself closer for a little bit loss of long-range firepower. So, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And like I said, with it being a 5.8, now let's say you get your opponent on the back foot there and they didn't try to flank you and bring something up to harass your Hunter's light support tanks, your lance, let's say you have one. You can disengage or actually roll up the support. Let's say you're winning, you're doing good, and then they try to disengage and they're starting to fall back. These guys with their 5.8 mover, they can turn around and just haul up a flank really quick and then park themselves on, let's say, another hilltop someplace, and then just like dig in and start laying down fire again on your target and just run them off the board. And that's typically how I usually use them, like if I'm doing a campaign. And if you get your opponent on the back foot and he turns around and starts hightailing it out of there, you harass them with them, and then by that time you're probably looking at saying, okay, I'm running a little low on ammo, and if I'm running a campaign, and they will have to fall back to, say, your supply depot someplace and reload those racks so they can do it again. And that's how I typically use them if I'm doing a long campaign type setting. So that's everything in the Hunter light support tank. It's very handy, very useful, and if you don't have them, they're not that expensive to actually purchase the miniatures themselves. You get a couple of them in a blister pack. And as you can see here, and go back into some of my archive videos where I actually took some plastic hex bases, mounted them on it, painted them up, so they're actually pretty useful, look pretty cool the way they're set up like that. And a little bit of hobby stuff to go with them. Alright, that's everything with the Hunter light support tank. Like and subscribe. Go ahead and share these videos with your buddies and everything, because this is how we grow our hobby, and I'm looking to make myself known out there to everybody that's in the Battletech universe. And if you ever go to like Gen Con or Origins, you probably have met me many times. So, alright. Like and subscribe, and thanks for the support, guys. Talk to you later.